Hello, it's Rose. This is my final presentation for John F. Kennedy University's Integral Life Practice class for summer 2017. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how this class, this quarter, Integral Life Practice, has impacted my life by sharing with you my 4 quadrants, which I've made. In the upper left quadrant, I have put meditation and journaling. In the upper right quadrant, I've put my yoga asana. Lower left quadrant, I have put heart-to-heart connection with loved ones and language immersion. In the lower right quadrant, I've put career planning, soul searching, and refining my calling, which also played into another course that I took this quarter, Finding My Soul's Purpose. They blended together really nicely. So this quarter has been really interesting. It's my 3rd quarter at John F. Kennedy, and it definitely posed to be very challenging, not because of course content, but integrating personal life with academic life. And so integral life practices really came in handy this quarter because it helped me just stay accountable for staying up on my practices on a weekly basis and documenting them. Sorry for the background noise. I have to say that at the beginning of the quarter, my motivation and also commitment level was really high, and I notice a pattern with myself is that I often am really ambitious and I'm a go-getter, and I tend to fill my plate up really full, and then what happens is I tend to get a little overwhelmed. And then so through the quarter, you'll notice on my weekly reports that my commitment level was sort of going up and down, just depending on what was going on with me that week. I have uploaded my ILP map in a Word document for you to be able to view while you're watching this video. So you can see my 4 quadrants, and also you can see what qualities I was hoping to develop with each. And I'll just briefly go through each one of my integral life practices and what my intentions were and what they did for me. With meditation, I think that's fairly obvious. Most people are seeking meditation, doing meditation because they want peace of mind, because they want the thoughts to slow down and just to find peace in life. And so that is definitely the reason that I was doing it. Also because I often am teaching and just really busy, and I'm teaching other people meditation, but then I neglect my practice. It's the same for teaching yoga. I tend to neglect my own practice. So this course has been really important in keeping me on track every week. I'm reminded in the back of my head, okay, I need to sit, I need to make sure that I'm sitting and doing this, and I need to report on it. And you know, it's like whenever you want to go out and go for a jog and you don't want to go, but after you go, you feel so good. And that's how it is every time. I think with each one of these practices, it was sort of like, oh, I don't really feel like doing this right now, but after I did it, I felt so good. So, and that motivated me to want to keep doing it. So with the meditation, sometimes I would sit for 5 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, and that was highly dependent upon what's going on in my day, what kind of quiet time I had or private time that I had in order to do that, with the space to do it. So what that's really taught me is to be really flexible in adapting to my environment, because it's always changing currently in my life. So that was a really good practice. With the journaling, I found that even if I did not, so for example, if I have a conflict with someone and I want to say something to them, I want to write them a letter, I found that if I just wrote the letter, but I didn't actually send it to them or email it to them, I just put it down on paper or typed it, that I felt better. So I didn't actually need to say all of those things to the other person. I just needed to get it out of my system onto paper, basically, and I felt so much better. So I feel like journaling is does the same thing, is getting it all out. Nobody needs to hear about it. It's between me and God, or me and my journal, and that's enough. And I think that oftentimes we burden other people with all of our problems and all these things going on, and we forget that other people are also having all of their own problems. So I think journaling is a really good tool to have to just develop a relationship with yourself, and also to just be able to articulate what's going on. Sometimes once you put it on paper, you just feel so much better. In the upper right quadrant, with my asana practice, that's also been fairly intermittent. I would say that sometimes I would do a 5-minute practice. Sometimes I would do a more heated practice, a flow practice, really fast. I was wanting to sweat. And other days, I just wanted to sit in maybe 5 different postures, but for very long periods of time, and just close my eyes and breathe. And I just started to have like a really nice relationship with trusting myself and my body, and what is it that my body needs today. Do I need to hold a posture for a really long time and just close my eyes and just breathe into it, or do I need to actually get some heat in my body and do a lot of movement and do some sweating? So that was really interesting. Even though I've been practicing for 10 or 11 years, I have to say that every day I'm learning something new about myself and about my body. In the lower left quadrant, the heart-to-heart connection with loved ones has been really, really important for me this quarter, because as most of you know, I've been abroad since March over here in Asia. I'm in India currently, in Jaipur, and sometimes I feel really lonely. I really miss my friends, I miss my family, and because of the time difference being so incredibly, it's like 12 hours approximately, it makes it really difficult to have a conversation on the phone with people, so on the other side of the world. So I've just found that sometimes if I'm feeling really down, if I do finally get to connect and talk to a loved one for even 30 minutes or an hour on the phone, it literally changes my mood so much. It's like the endorphins are just going, there's a smile on my face, and I'm just like, it just felt so good just to talk to somebody. And also the language barrier, because just to be able to communicate in a deep conversation in English is not something that I'm able to do on a daily basis. So having heart-to-heart connection with loved ones was something that I really found really as one of my integral life practices. I found it as something really important for me, and I want to keep doing that. Obviously, whether I'm abroad or not, connections, human connections, is one of the most important things in our life, in my opinion. So it's really important for our heart. The language immersion, that's just a cross-cultural thing. I've always had a knack for languages. They tend to come to me fairly easily, and I like learning them. But one of the biggest reasons to learn a new language if you're in a new place is to be able to connect. Once again, connect with others. If you're sitting there in a group of people and they're all speaking another language and you're not able to understand or contribute to the conversation, you feel like an outsider, and it just doesn't feel very comfortable, and you're not able to sort of like make new friends and things like that. So learning the language, even if you say a couple of words in their language, they get a really big smile on their face, and you've made an immediate friend, and so they just have a lot of respect. I've noticed that all over the world. If you just make an effort to try and learn a little bit of the language, they really respect that, and they'll take you under their wing. So in the lower right quadrant, the career planning, soul searching, and refining my calling, that was something really interesting that I kind of pulled from another class we had this quarter, and finding our soul's purpose in the professional identity class. And I noticed when I started going into this practice, and I listed it as an integral life practice, I was like, do I even really want to be doing this right now? And all of these sort of the self-doubt and all of those things started coming up, and I said, oh, this is really interesting. This is going to be a really interesting quarter. So I decided it would be advantageous to list it on my ILP map, and to actually spend some time every week really thinking about it. I'm in this master's program. I have a fairly good idea about the direction that I want the career to go. For a few years now, I've been wanting to set up a retreat center, looked at different properties in a couple of different